Hello YouTube, Vlogger Eric's Rants here, and this week my video is about how many members of the Republican Party want to go to war with Iran, and how, since Donald Trump was elected and the Republicans have control of both houses of parliament, America has exchanged possible war with one country, Russia, with an almost guaranteed war with another country, Iran. So, with all of that out of the way, let's begin with this video. One of the biggest pieces of evidence that Senate Republicans want a war with Iran is a letter that nearly 50 Senate Republicans, including former presidential candidate John McCain as well as 2016 Republican presidential candidates Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, sent to the leaders of Iran. I'll leave a link in the description to everybody who signed the letter. Let's read it, shall we? United States Senate, Washington DC 20510. March 9, 2015. An open letter to the leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran. It has come to our attention while observing your nuclear negotiations with our government that you may not fully understand our constitutional system. Thus, we are writing to bring to your attention two features of our Constitution, the power to make binding international agreements and the different character of federal officers, which you should seriously consider as negotiations progress. First, under our Constitution, while the President negotiates international agreements, Congress plays a significant role of ratifying them. In the case of a treaty, the Senate must ratify it by a 2/3 vote. A so-called Congressional Executive Agreement requires a majority vote in both the House and the Senate, which, because of procedural rules, effectively means a 3/5 vote in the Senate. Anything not approved by Congress is a mere executive agreement. Second, the officers of our Constitution have different characteristics. For example, the President may only serve 2 4-year terms, whereas senators may serve an unlimited number of 6-year terms. As applied today, for instance, President Obama will leave office in January 2017, while most of us will remain in office well beyond then, perhaps decades. What these two constitutional provisions mean is that we will consider any agreement regarding your nuclear weapons program that is not approved by the Congress as nothing more than an executive agreement between President Obama and Ayatollah Khamenei. The next president could revoke such an executive agreement with a stroke of a pen, and future Congresses could easily modify the terms of the agreement at any time. We hope this letter enriches your knowledge of our constitutional system and promotes mutual understanding and clarity as nuclear negotiations progress. Sounds like they want to tank the nuclear deal with Iran, doesn't it? One ad, linked to that ad in the description, was particularly stupid. It's not even a new ad, it's just a redone version of a 1964 ad by Lyndon Johnson against Barry Goldwater, and it uses this young girl counting petals as a countdown to a nuclear explosion. This was Lyndon B. Johnson's ad against Barry Goldwater, and you can summarize the whole ad as, vote for Barry Goldwater and little girls get nuked. Instead of arguing against war with Iran, as you could really do with this first incarnation of that ad, link in the description, Mike Huckabee uses the ad and repurposes it specifically to promote war with Iran by trying to tank the peace deal. What other option do we have other than going to war with Iran once the nuclear deal is destroyed? Well, for those people who say that continuing sanctions on Iran were going to stop Iran from getting a nuke, or that the sanctions currently in place were working already, I'll leave a link in the description that goes into detail about how the sanctions on Iran have failed to do any of that. Several executive orders in regards to Iranian sanctions were delayed, some by as much as 6 months, and exemptions were granted to several countries to continue doing limited business in Iran. In addition, even after Resolution 1737 in 2006, Russia, China, Turkey and India still traded with Iran, showing that the European Union has no teeth in regards to enforcing these sanctions. In addition, sanctions against countries have historical failures as well, as both Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein were driven from power, even though they had buckled to international pressure to give up their nuclear ambitions. And in the process of embargoing purchases of oil from Iran, Europe increased their reliance on the country that not only is the biggest exporter of terrorism in the world, but also, at best, funded the 9/11 terrorist attacks and at worst actually carried it out. I'm talking about, of course, Saudi Arabia. Do you want another example of the sanctions lacking teeth? How about the then Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman in December 2008, Hassan Khwavi, sorry if I butcher the name, said that Iran will never suspend nuclear enrichment. And this was echoed in June 2003 by the newly elected president, Hassan Rouhani, who also said that the era of suspending nuclear enrichment is behind us. And this is further echoed by the CIA director James Clapper in February 2012, who said, the sanctions as imposed so far have not caused Iran to change their behaviour or their policy. Sorry, but the sanctions weren't working. Simple as that. And finally, the military-industrial complex. The The military-industrial complex, or it should better be known as the military-industrial congressional complex, forms an iron triangle between the three groups. Stuff that goes on between them includes buying politicians, from the military-industrial complex buying politicians, and they then argue for endless war, lobbying to support bureaucracies and industry oversight, political approval for a massive amount of military spending that takes up over half the US budget and more than the next 13 countries combined, most of which are our allies. Could be taken even further to include everything in contracts, flows of both money and resources, corporations, defense contractor institutions, private military contractors, the Pentagon, the executive branch, and Congress. And I can tell you now that a lot of the politicians who signed that letter to Iran are bought by the military-industrial complex. There is also a laundry list of statements made by people on the far right, and this includes politicians, about Iran that are none too kind. I'll link up a search on that in the description as well, and you can keep going from there. Overall, the chances of war with Iran is high, and if it does get to that, we may still wind up with World War III, which people who wanted Trump were desperately claiming Hillary was going to cause. Wouldn't it be ironic if World War III happened under Trump as a result of the Iran nuclear deal getting torn up? Oh, that would be ironic. So, that is my video for this week. I hope you found it interesting. Please rate, comment, share and subscribe, and have a great day, everyone.